Good morning, team. Before we dive into techniques and calibrations, let's get something straight. Wave propagation is the heartbeat of ultrasonic testing. Everything we do, every flaw we detect, every signal we interpret, starts with understanding how sound travels through material. If you understand waves, you'll never guess at indications. You'll know what you're seeing. A wave isn't just energy moving through steel. It's the language your instrument speaks. Learning to interpret that language separates technicians who push buttons from those who solve problems. I've seen skilled inspectors catch flaws others missed because they understood how the wave would reflect, refract, or attenuate inside that part. That understanding doesn't come from repetition. It comes from curiosity and comprehension. Every time you adjust the frequency on your instrument, you're controlling how your sound behaves inside the part. Frequency, wavelength, and velocity aren't abstract ideas. They define your ability to detect flaws. Frequency is how often your sound wave cycles in 1 second. Wavelength is how far it travels during one of those cycles. Together, they determine resolution and penetration. Higher frequency gives sharper resolution but less penetration. Lower frequency penetrates deeper but may miss tiny flaws. Velocity depends on the material's density and elasticity, meaning the same frequency behaves differently in steel than in aluminum. That's why velocity calibration is critical before you trust your readings. Technicians who understand these relationships can make smart choices, not guesses, about which transducer to use, how to angle their beam, and how to interpret echoes. Remember, you're not just sending sound into metal. You're managing the relationship between energy and matter. In the field, we use short ultrasonic pulses, not continuous tones, to locate flaws. The speed of these pulses, known as group velocity, tells us how quickly energy travels through a material. But here's where it gets interesting. In a perfect world, the pulse would never change shape. Real materials, however, aren't perfect. They cause dispersion, where parts of the pulse move at slightly different speeds, distorting the signal over distance. When you understand group velocity, you understand how your time of flight relates to actual flaw position. When you understand dispersion, you learn when not to overtrust the signal shape. I once saw a tech call a false indication because the signal stretched due to dispersion in a cast material. If he had understood wave behavior, he'd have caught it instantly. Remember, you can't correct what you don't recognize. And that recognition starts with grasping how real-world materials affect your pulse. In solid materials, waves move in 2 main modes, longitudinal and transverse. Each one tells a different story about what's happening beneath the surface. Longitudinal waves move particles in the same direction as the sound travels. These are your workhorses for straight beam inspections. Transverse waves move particles perpendicular to the sound path. They're what you rely on in angle beam work. If you don't understand which wave you're generating, you're not inspecting, you're guessing. A technician who grasps body wave behavior can visualize energy paths inside the part. That mental image helps them predict where reflections will appear and how to interpret them. When I train inspectors, I stress this. Every waveform has a personality. Know how it moves, where it goes, and what stops it. Once you can picture that in your mind, you'll start seeing flaws not as echoes, but as interactions between physics and craftsmanship. Every material is unique, and so is the speed at which sound travels through it. That speed is determined by density and elasticity, 2 properties that never lie. In isotropic materials, where elasticity is uniform, the math is simple. Longitudinal waves always travel faster than shear waves, but in anisotropic materials, like composites, the rules change. Sound can travel faster in one direction than another. That's why calibration blocks exist. They don't just check your instrument. They verify that your understanding of velocity matches the part's behavior. Never assume steel is steel. Heat treatment, grain structure, and alloying all affect velocity and attenuation. The best inspectors don't memorize numbers. They measure and verify every time. Mastery in UT means knowing when data looks wrong and having the confidence to stop and recheck your fundamentals. Every echo on your screen has a story. Understanding how waves interact with boundaries lets you read that story clearly. Large, smooth boundaries, like a back wall, reflect sound cleanly. Small or irregular boundaries scatter it. The The smaller the feature compared to the wavelength, the weaker the reflected energy. That's why frequency selection is everything. Attenuation quietly limits your reach. It's the loss of signal strength as energy is absorbed or scattered inside the material. If your gain is maxed out and you're still not seeing the back wall, it's not always calibration. Sometimes it's physics. Inspectors who respect attenuation don't push their equipment. They adapt their setup. Knowing when to switch frequency or adjust coupling can be the difference between catching a flaw and missing it. Understanding these principles helps you read your instrument like a skilled musician, not just an operator. Every time your wave crosses from one medium to another, like through a wedge into steel, it bends. That bending follows Snell's law, and it's not optional. Refraction explains why your shear wave enters the part at a predictable angle. Get the math wrong and your beam won't hit the target. Get it right and you can locate flaws with precision. Snell's law ties together the angles and wave speeds of both materials. Think of it as your GPS for sound. If your velocity data is off, your map is wrong, and so is your interpretation. Great technicians don't just rely on transducer markings, they understand the angles physically. They visualize how the wave bends, where it enters, and how it returns. When you can picture refraction in your mind, you can make smarter calls in the field. And that's what separates a reader of screens from a reader of sound. When sound hits a boundary, it doesn't just bounce, it transforms. That's mode conversion, one type of wave turning into another to satisfy boundary conditions. For example, a longitudinal wave hitting a surface at an angle produces both a reflected longitudinal and a reflected shear wave. Understanding that conversion explains why multiple signals appear on your display from a single event. Mode conversion is predictable, not random. The material's properties and the angle of incidence control how energy divides between modes. If you learn those relationships, you'll never mistake a converted wave for a new flaw. A mentor once told me, "If you can predict what your waveform will do, you'll never be surprised by your instrument." That's the mindset of a true inspector. Proactive, not reactive. When you understand mode conversion, you stop chasing echoes and start confirming physics. There's a point during refraction when your longitudinal wave can no longer travel through the material. It skims along the surface instead. That's the critical angle. At this angle, the longitudinal wave becomes a surface wave, like the Rayleigh wave. Understanding where that transition occurs helps you control which waves you're actually generating. If you exceed the critical angle without realizing it, you might think you're sending a shear wave into the part. But you're really just exciting surface motion. That can lead to missed flaws or inaccurate depth readings. Experienced inspectors know the critical angle for every material and transducer combination they use. They respect it like a speed limit, because pushing past it can cause confusion or error. The best technicians don't just follow procedures, they understand why those procedures exist. Surface and guided waves are powerful tools when used with intent. Rayleigh and Love waves allow us to inspect surfaces, thin layers, or bonded joints where bulk waves struggle. Surface waves concentrate energy near the surface, making them ideal for detecting cracks or corrosion. Guided waves, like Love modes, trap energy within a layer, perfect for thin films or adhesive bonds. But these tools demand understanding. A technician who knows how these waves behave can fine-tune frequency, angle, and coupling to reach the desired inspection depth, while someone guessing might miss critical damage. In advanced applications, aerospace, composites, weld overlays, guided waves can be the difference between rework and rejection. Mastering them takes time, but it begins with respect for the physics behind them. Remember, a mentor's goal is not just to help you pass a test, but to help you think like an inspector who earns trust through precision. Before we close, I want to share a resource that can help you take your training further. The Ultrasonic Testing Test Prep app is now available on the Apple App Store. This app is designed specifically for NDT professionals preparing for certification exams. It offers two modes. Study mode provides immediate feedback with detailed explanations, so you not only see the correct answer, but understand why it's correct. Test mode simulates real exams, including Level 1 and 2 general exams as well as the Level 3 method exam, giving you the experience and timing pressure of the actual test. Every question is sourced directly from the Non-Destructive Testing Handbook, Volume 7. Ultrasonic Testing, 3rd edition, ensuring accuracy and relevance. Whether you're new to the field or advancing toward higher levels, this app is built to sharpen your knowledge and build confidence before exam day. Download the app today on the Apple App Store and take your ultrasonic testing knowledge to the next level. If you've made it this far in the video, I'd like to ask for your support. Please consider buying us a coffee. Your contributions help cover the monthly subscriptions we use to produce these NDT training videos and keep new content coming. We offer 3 levels of support: NDT Level 1, $1 per month, NDT Level 2, $2 per month, and NDT Level 3, $3 per month. Just scan the QR code on the screen to join and help us continue delivering updated NDT resources right here on YouTube. At AMS Level 3, our mission is to strengthen technicians and companies through consulting, training, and compliance solutions. Subscribe to our channel for more mentoring insights, share this video with your team, and give it a like to help spread the word. Visit us at amsl3.com to learn more about our services and resources designed for NDT professionals at every level. And a special thank you to Skaggs Media, the creative force behind these videos. Learn more at skaggsmedia.com. Remember, your role as an NDT technician protects lives, families, and missions. That's why mentorship matters, and why excellence in NDT starts with you.